Welcome to the Pharma Sales and Tech Podcast. Tune in to stay informed, inspired, and connected with the world of pharma sales.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have another episode of the Pharma Sales and Tech Podcast. Our guest today is coming all the way from India. Her name is Snehal Gholap, and she has wide industry experience. I cannot highlight this enough. She's working for Pfizer, but she works for many different international brands, and she works as a country brand manager. I think there would be some more details that Snehal can cover on the podcast, and I will let her do her intro herself. Welcome to the podcast, Snehal.
Hey, thank you, Stephen. And thank you for this great opportunity and allowing me to share this platform with you. So it's almost a decade I'm a part of pharmaceutical industry. I got an opportunity to work with four mega pharmaceutical giant companies. I handled 19 different brands and worked over new launches, building mega brands, therapy shipping, portfolio management. And this comprises of both the prescription business as well as OTX1. So that's how about me and my journey.
Cool. Well, that was very short. Can you tell us a little bit about the positions you held in different companies and like why did you like working there? Maybe let's start with that.
Okay. So I started my journey with Merit Robotics. It's a nutraceutical company. It's a UK-based number one nutraceutical company. I joined there as a management trainee. It was a wonderful experience. I managed a brand named Wellwoman there, and I also got an opportunity to launch Wellwoman 50 Plus. It was a brand extension. An excellent opportunity to work with. I spent a couple of years there and I moved to Cipla, where I was a senior brand manager. I handled a big portfolio of anti-infectives. Post that, I worked with Sun Pharma, wherein my portfolio was quite bigger in size and where I worked on various therapy shaping activities and brands. I also worked for Volnemax, manage OTX business of it, and another anti-infective, a pain management, a systemic or a vasoprotective launch. And that's how almost a journey of approximately 3 years. Then I joined Abbott as a group product manager. And there again, I handled Vimox, Vitox, Asmo, and set of the brands which come under anti-infective portfolios. So the continuous engagement and motivation was learning for me and, the experience which I was gaining. And right now it's Pfizer. And here also I'm handling a bucket of anti-infectives and I'm into hospital business. So we manage the critical care part of it. Yeah. So that's how
Okay, so
my journey is.
so as a brand manager, you certainly had some maybe marketing or sales agency, right, to the business. Can you share a specific example of a successful, let's say, marketing or sales strategy, the tactic you've implemented in the past? Any job that you had work.
Okay, Stephen. Yeah, actually, if you ask me one, it will be really difficult to gauge out of multiple experiences. But yeah, definitely, I would like to elaborate something which led into a successful outcome. Definitely, it was amalgamation of both sales and marketing strategy, which we did for a new launch of a systemic vasoprotective. It involved lot amount of pre-work into it. And that's the reason why I would like to share that story with you. And before starting the story, we were clear on our sales and marketing objective, what exactly we are willing to drive. We made KPIs very clear and they were quantifiable, right? We were very clear what kind of a behavioral shift we are trying to drive out of that strategy. Right. And we ran it for a specific time period. It was a time bound. So the very first thing which we did before launching the systemic vasoprotective into the market, we identified the key accounts. So usually we name this activity as potential mapping activity, either or we also call it as an RCPA, which is a retail chemist prescription audit. You can also name it as a market research survey. So when I identify the high accounts, right? So who have got a potential for a brand. So the ones who write my brand or those who write my competitor brand, right? And this is how
Mm-hmm.
we define the customers. So basically, you segment the market and then you target it based on your need. So the low hanging fruits are obviously the ones who are writing my branch and the ones who are writing the molecule. Right. So that was a first step for us. And then we gave the second priority, the ones, those who are not writing my molecules and the ones who completely have a different set of regimen or a line of a treatment to treating systemic protective regimen, right? So that's how
Mm-hmm.
we went about identifying the key potential. I think so. This is, really very important for any strategy to be very successful to identify your target. So that was number one step which we did. Apart from that,
Mm-hmm.
the second one was creating a personalized content. Okay, which is, I definitely feel as a marketer, which is a need of the hour, right? So the one who have a potential or the ones who are rightly prescribing, as I defined after the market analysis and survey, we figured these are the two set of customers on which, we will be targeting our promotional sets. The idea was to go a little bit more on to the, customized approach. So idea is somebody is writing, why he is writing, how he can, if he's giving me a X share out of his entire prescription, how it can
Mm-hmm.
go to X plus N plus one, right? So every day, how
Mm-hmm.
do I drag more business from the existing one? How do I go about consolidating the existing set of my accounts and the prescribers? Right? So the idea was giving them the experience based sale or the communication. So retain the base was prima facie objective of this set, which we decided. And for the second set, those who are high potential, for example, they write the molecule, but they don't select
Mm-hmm.
my brand as a primary choice. So how do we go about stating my USP, creating a unique value proposition about my brand, defining the communication which talks about the differentiation about me and a competition? So and the result based communication which talks about the efficacy and the purity of my molecule, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how
Mm-hmm.
we designed our communication. So this was approach number two. The third important thing which we did about is the multi-channel engagement. As the experience which I'm sharing with you, Stephen, it is the era when, pandemic wasn't started. So the pre-work of the brand we did prior the lockdown, and the time when we were about to launch it, it was the era of a first wave of the COVID. I hope you understand. The gimmick of the marketing, it changed 360. The way we were too much into the physical, the idea was to go digital and then to physical. How do we combine them together? And then we, went about making the omni-channel approach or a multi-channel engagement, whatever communication and a strategy we have designed for the promotion of the brand. We decided to create multi-channel engagement, one on the physical aspect, the other one on the digital aspect.
I have a question. How did you do this tactically? How did you make sure that the omnichannel approach, physical and digital, are all both aligned? So my first question. And the other question is, how do you make sure the content you're delivering is fit to the persona that you need to?
Okay. So, going about answering your second question first, how I went about selecting the content of it. The way I mentioned, we did a lot of pre-work for the brand. We did one ad board. It was inclusive of 21 surgeons and 21 general physicians. We understood in which different indications they're writing my brand, what is the current need gap, and that need gap analysis study basically we did. And what are the expectations if somebody is coming new into the market, which has got
Mm-hmm.
a verbal, the origin, which is not, very chemical or a synthetic based or natural origin, yet it is effective. And what are your expectations from it? So content was majorly driven on that aspect. So if I have to give you a brief about my market here, it's much about a surgery driven, right? An idea was
Mm-hmm.
to give them something which can be prescribed orally, which acts on the root cause of the disease. So one can
Mm-hmm.
stop or, change the duration of the surgery. So that was a key customer insight. We figured it out from the ad board, from the field work, and from one survey. It was kind of a questionnaire of 21 questions we conducted. It was, yeah, I don't wish to go much deeper on it, but yeah, it was based upon much of an insight from the customer and consumer, and then we derived communication part of it. Then now, as we classified two different sets, the one who are prescribing this and the one who are not prescribing this, we define strategies of communication. So, one who are prescribing that channel should have a physical engagement where a person is reaching out to them, having a frequent calls. I have something in clinic like a studies report, leave behind literatures. So that physical engagement is quite solid in the first set of a group. And second one, who have a high potential and the likelihood of prescribing my brand, we selected that set of a customer for digital approach. So that in order to create awareness about my brand, the idea model, how does it works, and and then they start making them into a converted customer kind of a thing by email, by social media approach. I remember I have conducted near about 25 webinars within a couple of months' time. It was really a hot mess though, but we want to reach as many customers as possible because that was a advantage of, taking a digital route. The time it takes less and the reach is really maximum. And also the infographic messages and GIFs we created, the smaller contents we started creating on the brand. And that's how we went about, promoting it and yeah, going it ahead.
Tell me more, please, about the webinars you've conducted. You said you've conducted 21 webinars within 2 months. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I understand. So, as I
So,
mentioned, we conducted the ad boards initially. So, these ad boards, there were different, the surgeons and physicians which came across the nation, they came together. So, then the idea is, as they all belong to all different parts of the nation, they become the key leader speaker and, you know, train the trainer kind of. Once they are pretty aware of my molecule, they are aware of my USPs, I took them as a KOL. They become my key opinion leader. They became my advocate and they drive the brand promotion in their specific region. And then that was being attended by another set of, 1,000 doctors down there in their particular local area. And that's how the advocacy about the brand was being built digitally.
how about physically? Did you approach the doctors personally and thought, like, did you give them booklets? How did you go about persuading them?
Yeah. So idea was first of all to identify the customers, and then first one we went about giving the teaser sets. Like something is coming, which can break the traditional approach of treating it. Then the second, the brand is available in nearby chemists. The set of names we went about giving them. The third about a welcome kit. The fourth was monograph. The fifth was the molecular USPs. Sixth was how it is breaking the monotony of the market and the current treatment options and how it can overcome, the need gap which is there into the market. So that's how the series of communication was built in terms of the physical literatures. So that's how it was bounded together.
And who was helping you on the physical side of things? Were you connected to the
Yeah, we have,
sales?
it was a sales team, approximately 500 people down the ground. Like they were quite active in promoting it. Once the first lockdown was over, and people started joining it. Yeah. So that's how when we started physical approach of the brand promotion. So we have a complete good team of 500 people on the ground and inclusive of first line and second line manager, around 150 people out there.
Oh, wow. So you literally had to align. Were you the one who to align the physical and digital strategy together or no?
Yeah. Yeah, rightly mentioned, Stephen. Aligning was the task, right? So before setting an objective, bringing them all together to a common platforms, training them, guiding them, hand holding them, and teaching them what is to be promoted in clinic, it took about a month's period before having an actual launch on ground. Yeah. So training them was the priority for all of us.
I'm thinking, how do you go about like using data and analytics to create and improve your, let's say, brand marketing campaigns? And how do you sort of make them relevant to your HCPs, to your customers, like personalization wise?
Yeah, sure. So being a part of pharma industry, I understand data is a sacrosanct. And the various level at which, we understand the data, we dig down and come up with the conclusion. So, yeah, first of all, at the customer segmentation, we do the data analysis and data mining. It is very much important, to improve the relevance of the messages which is going to the doctors. So, segmenting them on the basis of geographic, demographic approach, acceptance of the molecule, preference, their choices, their behavior, gender, the economic state of the patients. Not many things we kept into the parameter. Second was the behavioral analysis, what we did. So it is kind of a perception mapping which we do. So kind of a dipstick analysis, which helps us giving the insight about their preferences and choices about selecting the molecule. Third important was the predictive analysis in order to,
Mhm.
forecast the number which we are driving for the brand, where the market is going, where my competitors are growing, and with help of the existing CAGR, growth and the compound annual growth rate, basis on that, where we land in couple of years or after a decade, and for this financial year, what should be your target? And the another set of data mining we did, I think so, it was for a personalized content delivery, as we have a very, segmented set of a data to whom we are taking the brand, depending upon the which specialty you're targeting. It is surgeons, it is gastros, or, what should be
Mhm.
my communication. So that was a time when, we had to understand the data mining of the customer set. Apart from that, we also had a data analysis of competitor analysis. Like, we went about understanding the regional variations where the market is strong, where I'm strong, where the competitor is weak, that area can be developed. So that regional competition analysis was something which, we did in case of data analysis. Apart from that, we also did the ROI measurement. This is a return on investment. We basically do it in order to understand E by S ratio is your expenses to sales, because I hope you understand, we both being a part of same industry, we have a
Yeah.
stipulated amount of budget for doing anything. So how are we fitting into it and yet optimizing it and making best out of it was, something. That's the reason where we went about using and crunching much of a data sheet. Then the sales forecasting, yes, based upon the raw material API as it was imported, and meeting those timelines, setting the realistic goals, procurement till goal setting and targeting for all that. The data mining was the thing for us. So we used to sit on the forecasting on the weekly basis, on the monthly basis. Are we up to the mark, and should we procure more units, or how should we go about it? Yeah, that was something where the data mining was the thing for us. Then the customer journey mapping, yes. This was
Mhm.
another set of analysis we did, wherein we try to understand the journey, or what we say, the life cycle of the patient, and where my brand could exactly do the impact, or, the prescribing pattern of that particular customer, and where he can put prior surgery brand can be prescribed, post surgery it can be prescribed, during surgery, as it has got a good properties of keeping that surgical area away from the blood, and provide a clean surgical area. So that's the reason why all three placements were made in terms of promotion. So yeah, it was very important to understand customer and the process journey as well. Apart from that, yeah, kind of a real time analysis, which we used to do, which is a weekly sales tracking, monthly sales tracking, and review meetings, which helps
Mhm.
us to understand are we on target or not, basically. So once we decide the target, the continuous feedback mechanism or a continuous analysis or reviewing makes important. No, so
Mhm.
that you can understand whether it is effective or not, whether we strategy which we have applied, it is working or not. I guess there's certain on the moment changes which are required to make it more better. That's how these real time interventions were needed. So that's the reason we also used to look at this daily and weekly data sets also. And apart from that, in the last also, we went about taking customers' feedback of the brand.
Mm.
And yeah, whether they're satisfied or not, what is their satisfaction level, what is their feedback, what is the gap which they've identified earlier, were they being satisfied by the brand launch, and
Mm-hmm.
what's not in the world. So yeah, that's what the various avenues, where we went about using the data to optimize the effectiveness of the sales team.
My question would be, so this is actually very exciting because you're going into very detail. It's not very often we hear this much detail on the podcast. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Most
m-
welcome, Stephen.
my question would be this: in terms of like sales and marketing alignment, like when you do this campaign, how do you like? It's certainly a big challenge for like a lot of the brand managers, a lot of the sales people I meet. How do you make sure you actually have this alignment in place? Like, are there any steps you go about that you align your physical sales force and your digital sales force? Because sales like activities, maybe marketing activities. Because what I'm saying is a lot of the managers in bid brand managers or sales managers in pharma are afraid of using digital because they are afraid of the challenges that lie ahead, and they're not sure of the ROI that comes with using digital. So maybe you could shed some light into that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I try addressing the question on both the aspects. The very first one is the managing the team, I guess, and how do we
Yeah.
align the marketing and the sales objective. And since the second part I would go about addressing is how do we welcome this digital era and make people welcoming it and all. Okay. So the very first is idea was making people, more aware of it. Change is the only constant thing. We made them accept it, and the continuous meetings and motivation building, leading with the examples. So it's something which we direct somebody that doesn't happen the way we feel, but if we lead it with the example, we create some innovative ways of communicating it to it with some demonstration example. We encourage the people who are bringing the change in their current working lifestyle. And this is kind of on the job training where somebody is doing really good. His success story is being shared with others. That encourages them, that motivates them, to do something which is beyond which they haven't done it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And idea is we do this a lot of oath taking activities where we try and, bring all of us on the same page in a platform and try to
Mm-hmm.
define our ethos and ensure that this is a business objective, this is a marketing objective, and the sales team needs to align with it because of the vision which we are driving for the brand. And a lot of momentum and info has been pumped during the cycle meets and all. No? So that's how winning them, making them part of the success, recognizing them, creating the platforms where the reward and recognition is given, right? Then the people work for people, basically. So you need to create a safe and welcoming and warm environment for them where they get a sense of, belonging or the sense of victory or sense of doing something valuable, meaningful for the healthcare industry or, to overall domain as such. Their contribution has to be valued. Then all of us become one, right? And we drive that objective or vision which we wish to drive. It's basically creating a culture and making them adaptable, bringing that agility in the environment and driving that one ethos. Yeah, that's how it is quite engaging activities, though, team building activities and aligning
Mm-hmm.
them. And, always the idea is to have always one on one interactions, two-way open discussions, continuous feedback or mechanisms, which helps each other understand better to drive successful outcomes. So that's how we went about doing it. And yeah, the moment you mentioned the digital era, yeah, definitely. So it was a time when we, have to give them a proper training in order to understand what are the challenges and what are the pluses and minuses of welcoming these digital technologies to our world, and how can we best achieve our objectives by doing this. We gave the hands-on training to them, and we set a support mechanism. So there was a set of small technical team which address their on the go. And yeah, and we make them try it, do it, have a hands-on experience. We did small kind of pilot studies first, send it to amongst yourself, and then do the mass emailing, then do the all those things. So that's
Hmm.
how we went about, creating it a mega thing.
Gotcha. Interesting. So I got like basically two more questions for you. And my question would be, how do you go about using AI in your daily activities? A lot of people are afraid of ChatGPT or any sort of AI, especially in pharma. And how do you go about this?
Yeah, I understand it completely. So I believe it will be quite early to, comment on the AI being used in the pharma industry, because I completely feel it is a people and a value driven asset where the pharma industry looks at themselves. But yeah, AI can be a game changer. It can change the way a healthcare system can be built. A solution can be brought to newer diseases, more complicated diseases. It can be a helping aid to surgeons, like various surgeries or treatments, protocols can be driven. Apart from that, I completely understand AI can also be used to improve the sales force effectiveness, right? Even converting data into a more analytical sets and something into a portion which can be easy to consume by field force. The training can be made more simpler and easier with the help of AI, right? The actual
Mm-hmm.
detailing practices, how can you improve the in-clinic communication, the in-clinic effectiveness of that particular communication with the demo videos can be given to the field force, so that, the practice mode can be made for them. So I'm not saying I'm using it. This is how I can interpret the future of the AI in the pharma industry can take a shape. So it can
Mm-hmm.
also bless the healthcare system. It can also, be an added tool for training team members for data analysis in our industry. And apart from that, in developing a very insightful, engaging communications also, can AI help us out? Yeah. The way from paper-based communications to now iPad communications, now GIF, mailers, it can go to another, new ways or era of taking the communication to the end consumer. This is how I would say.
Mm-hmm. So last question. This was very insightful, by the way. Thank you so much. So last question, if you had to give advice to people in the position of a sales manager, national sales manager, national brand manager, what would that advice sound like?
Okay. So the more important advice which I would like to give to the leaders who will be listening to us is focus on the bigger goal, right? The idea should be, your mind should always have that bigger picture, and never to get setback with the rejections, learn from them. If you face any kind of a setbacks or a rejection, these should be treated as an opportunity to grow above it. And we need to celebrate small wins. And we always have to be optimistic and positive in our approach. We should have this continuous learning attitude, because I strongly feel it is a mindset which, can move the mountains. So basically, that's something which one has to completely work on, how the leadership mindset can help the people, to those who are following us. We have to
Mm-hmm.
be always mindful, in how do we address our stress. Apart from that, always have very realistic expectations or having a smart goal, because that, somehow lowers the burden on the team which who are following us. So that's the second thing which I would like to share with all the leaders. And yeah, apart from that, always maintain a transparency and a healthy balance in the work and a life. That sets an example for others also to do
Mm-hmm.
more productive work at a workplace. Take the breaks wherever possible, recharge and come back, bounce back with a great amount of energy to do wonders. So yeah, these are the three things. So basically, I feel like I would like to give as a message to all the leaders.
Awesome, Snehal. Thank you so much for this episode. It was very insightful, personally for me, and I bet it was insightful for our listeners as well. I'm gonna look ahead and ask you for another episode in about a year time. Maybe you'll have some. Well, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some new episodes, new in your life, and new strategies that you have implemented with success, and we'll be super glad to hear about those again. Okay.
So definitely, Stephen. It was wonderful interacting with you. It was amazing experience. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.